Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to a brand new edition of Daily to Dynasty. I am Craig Orbanoff alongside Rich Wilhelm. No Marcus Taylor this week. He's running scared because he's playing both of us across multiple leagues in fantasy football this week. So we have no Marcus Taylor today. No John Hazlett. John Hazlett's too busy selling houses to come back on this show, but maybe we'll get him back at some point. Either way, you got the two of us, Rich Wilhelm, Craig Orbanoff, talking to you every single week about all things fantasy football, whether it's winning your dynasty leagues, cashing tickets on FanDuel Sportsbook or wherever your sportsbook is, or your daily fantasy lineups. This is the show for you. And of course, if you're a sports fan, you have to be a fan of Underdog Stories. Check out the Underdog newsletter, jokermag.com/newsletter. So, Rich, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Thursday Night Football. I think we finally are going to have a good game here on Thursday night. The Carolina Panthers will host the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons lost last week in a really hysterical fashion, really, when you think about it. I mean, even when Todd Gurley accidentally scores, right? He's trying to go down on the one and kick the field goal. Even when he accidentally scores, I'm like, well, okay, can your defense just make a play? Your defense should be capable of making a play, and everyone's blaming Todd Gurley for falling into the end zone. But really, your defense should be able to make a stop if they have to make a stop and not allow the game-winning touchdown. Either way, that was a close one. The Falcons are playing some competitive football. The Panthers also playing some competitive football. I like the way they look offensively right now, and they're facing one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So matchup-wise here, I really love players across the Panthers offense. I would, if you like doing the Thursday night daily fantasy thing, I would go heavy on the Panthers offense because I think they're going to put up a lot of points. And in this matchup, I like the Panthers. I think they're able to make one more play, especially when it comes to the defense needing to make a stop. Rich, what's your analysis of this one?
I mean, to me, these teams are pretty similar. It's going to be nothing but offense all night. If you look at both sides of the ball, I mean, it is pretty similar on both sides. You got your Julio and your Ridley on one side. You got your Moore and your Robbie Anderson on the other. All four of those wide receivers are putting up giant numbers for fantasy this year. You got Gurley on one end. You got Mike Davis on the other end. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to play this week, and if he does, he's going to be on a strict snap count. I don't think he's going to play, though. And then you got two quarterbacks that usually are prone to playing from behind and can pull things out of nowhere. So for me, this is the battle of the same team, and it's just going to come to whose defense can be a little bit better. I don't really know. I mean, I think it's going to be like a 42-41 type game, and I have the Falcons winning by a point. The spread right now is 2.5. But, I think I'm a closet Falcons, Saints, all that division fan, which, I mean, this is where they play. So I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one.
So Rich likes the Falcons. I like the Panthers. It's really just a matter of preference. Flip a coin. I wouldn't advise wagering this one, but definitely a lot of fantasy options. So make sure you set your lineups early if you have some of these players because there's going to be points to spare coming out of Thursday Night Football.
Bet the over for sure. It's 51.5. Bet the over.
Yeah, I would take the over there for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a fun Thursday Night Football game, which is good for me because I don't think I'm going to be able to watch anything on Sunday. So entertaining Thursday Night Football is check yes, Juliet to me. Let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts facing off against the Detroit Lions. Again, the Lions making a really incredible comeback to win that game against the Falcons last week. They had to make a drive. They did it. They march all the way down the field. That being said, I don't think the Falcons are that good of a football team, so I don't know how impressive that is, but they made the plays when they had to. The Colts, on the other hand, they're not that impressive either. They're winning some football games, mostly because of their defense. The quarterback situation doesn't seem right. Somehow the Colts are favored here. They're coming off of a bye week, right, Rich? Yeah.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Maybe they're a little healthier. Maybe they're a little fresher. What's your analysis here?
I mean, the Lions are overperforming. The Colts are underperforming. I really want the Lions to win this game because, I mean, this is probably the last time that this core is going to be together. I think if the Lions lose this game, I think Marvin Jones is as good as gone. If they go below 500, the trade deadline's a week away. So, this is probably the last time this core is going to play together. Rivers is not performing the way he should. T.Y. Hilton doesn't have over 10 fantasy points in any game this year. I would stay away from everyone on the Colts side of the ball besides Jonathan Taylor. On the Lions side of the ball, you can fire up Stafford. You can fire up Galladay. You can fire up Swift. It's just, it's going to be a close game for sure.
Well, I have one player on the Colts that I think is a little sneaky, Rich. And it sort of came from your analysis of the Colts from a few weeks ago. But Mo Alley-Cox was your fantasy stud for weeks. All he does is score touchdowns, and he gets hurt. And Trey Burton was hanging out on the waiver wire. I pick up Trey Burton 2 weeks ago because it turns out my guy was on a bye and I wasn't paying attention. And he puts up like 20 fantasy points. I mean, it's kind of incredible numbers. These Colts tight ends find ways into the end zone. Coming off the bye week, I think with that performance, he's going to be the clear-cut number one guy. And this is a better defense in Detroit than the last time out against Cincinnati. But I like Trey Burton here as a play, someone to sneak into some lineups, potentially daily, depending on what you're trying to do with your budgets. But that's a player I like a lot. Did you give us a pick here, Rich?
I'm going to go with the Colts, but I want the Lions. I just think the Colts, they're too good on defense, and they should be good on offense, but they're just not. But I think they have enough to beat the Lions this week.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. A bit of a coin flip for me. Let's head on over to the Cleveland Browns without Odell Beckham Jr. suffering a season-ending knee injury last week, facing off against the Las Vegas Raiders, who, I think they put up a fight last week considering they had no offensive line. Like, they weren't as awful as I thought they would be, which I don't know if that's a compliment or not. But they put up a fight. The Browns were in a scrap last week against the Bengals. I mean, it was a total shootout. Came down to who had the ball last. But I don't know if that's a good sign for Cleveland either, because if you have to get into a shootout with a team who is as talentless as the Bengals, for lack of a better term, there's not a lot of top-tier players on the Bengals right now. The Browns are supposed to be one of the better teams in the NFL. If you have to get into a shootout with the Bengals to win a game, I don't know. I feel like you got some problems. So, Rich, I'll turn this one over to you because from a game perspective, I just don't know where either one of these teams are at.
I mean, I think the Browns played a lot better when OBJ went down. I mean, when Baker Mayfield starts spreading the ball around, good things happen. I mean, you found Harrison Bryant at the tight end there, who seems like he's going to be, the guy with Austin Hooper out now. Higgins showed that he can be the number two, that Landry usually is since Odell's out for the season. I think that they have a lot of talent, and with Nick Chubb coming back in a couple of weeks, I mean, this is a team that's 5-2. Baker Mayfield just needs to start the game how he finished the game. I think that they're going into this game with a lot of momentum. The Raiders, they're so up and down. They have the two main guys. They have Waller, and then they have Josh Jacobs. But the Browns, you don't really know who is going to be the guy that week. They have talent across the board. It's just only Kareem Hunt's going to be the one that you want to put in your lineup each and every week. As far as waivers go, I mean, Higgins was a huge waiver this week. If he's still available, I would try to scoop him up. Harrison Bryant was also a huge waiver this week for the Browns. I think the Browns are going to win this game. I think they have tons of momentum going into this. Baker Mayfield had the game of his life last week. And I know you said that the Bengals don't have a lot of talent, but, they have a young core that everyone's kind of gelling at the same time. AJ Green's back from the dead, which is a bet that I beat Marcus on. He had 15 points. T. Higgins, he's showing a lot of good signs. Tyler Boyd showing a lot of good signs. Giovanni Bernard, I mean, the backup running back, he got into the end zone too. So the Bengals definitely have a lot of stuff on their end, offensively, not defensively. But with that being said, I'm going Browns, and I think they do cover the spread of 2.5.
Yeah, as we're thinking through this one, I think I have to agree. I think the Browns also have a number of players along their defensive line that are going to present some problems for a Raider offensive line that, missed all of last week due to COVID. And I don't know what the situation is this week, but regardless, if they're not at 100%. So I'll take Cleveland in this one as well. The Rams will face the Miami Dolphins, and the Rams are only 3-point favorites, which I think is kind of ludicrous. I think the Rams are a significantly better football team than the Dolphins. I would be taking the Rams -3 with a lot of money here. But I guess my question to you is this is going to be Tua's NFL debut. How much, well, not debut, but starting debut. How much of that do you think is factored into this line, and how much do you think that it will impact the overall flow of the game?
I mean, I think the line is affected just based on his name. You got to consider that he hasn't been playing with the starters until this week. He's used to being in practice throwing to the backups, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, if he was still the quarterback of the Dolphins, I can actually see this line because of how well he was playing. But there's going to be bumps in the road for Tua as his first start against, especially the Rams defense, with the players they have on that defense. Aaron Donald's going to give him fits all day, and Jalen Ramsey, in the secondary, he's going to have a hard time. I agree with you. I think the Rams are going to cover the spread easily. As far as this game, as far as starts, you could start Cooper Kupp, and I don't know about Robert Woods this week. The way he played last week, he had 4 points. He had a fumble. He didn't play well at all last week. I'm going to fire him up because I think he's going to have a bounce back week. I still wouldn't touch any of the running backs for the Rams. You just don't know who's going to be the guy. This week, Brown got to the end zone, even though Henderson started. And as far as Dolphins go, I'm not really starting anyone outside of Gesicki because I think in the beginning, a rookie quarterback always uses a tight end as a security blanket. So this should be no different. But Rams are going to win big. Yeah,
and Gesicki, was talented regardless of the fact that there's a rookie. So I think he'll get targeted a lot. There'll be a lot of PPR there for sure. But this Rams defense is a must start. Probably the defense I would recommend most in your DFS lineup. And Rams -3 all day on that one. We have a divisional game here, and Marcus probably also isn't on this show because he doesn't want to talk about how bad the Packers are going to beat down the Vikings. 6.5-point favorites. Aaron Rodgers was just out looking for blood last week. He had a very rough game against the Buccaneers, and he came back with a vengeance. Anyone who had Devontae Adams, or me, had a very fun NFL Sunday. This Packer team is very legit. The Vikings, on the other hand, they are not playing a pretty brand of football. I really think that, you can pretty much get away with starting almost anyone on Green Bay's offense, almost anyone. And you can expect a pretty good game here. And I think they cover every bit of 6.5. What's your analysis?
Yeah, we said it last week that the Texans were going to be victimized because Aaron Rodgers was pissed. I think we talked about that for 5 minutes about how everyone on the Texans was going to have a bad day. And that's going to happen again this week for the Vikings. The Vikings are in sell mode right now. Everson Griffin got traded away. Their defense is depleted. Their offense, it revolves around Kirk Cousins. So, he's so up and down. You don't know what Kirk Cousins you're going to get, from week to week. You don't know if Dalvin Cook's going to be back. It's kind of, an up and down thing for the Vikings. On the other hand, the Packers are just firing on all cylinders, and they don't have full strength. Alan Lazard's not in there. Aaron Jones didn't even need to play last week, and they just beat the dog poop out of the Texans. 6.5, I think, is fair. I think you're going to take the Packers and you're going to run with that spread. You're going to start Rodgers. You're going to start whoever is starting at running back. If it's Jamal Williams, you start Jamal Williams. If it's Aaron Jones, start Aaron Jones, of course. And I think Devontae Adams, he might not put up 195 yards this week, but he's going to have another 100-yard game. I don't see any way he's not.
And he's going to get into the end zone at least once.
Yeah, at least once.
Yeah. Is he going to get 203 touchdowns or whatever the heck he had last week? No, but he's going to have a good game.
Instead of 40, he'll put up 20. And that's a good week. But on the Viking side of the ball, obviously Justin Jefferson, and Thielen. They're going to be starts every single week. They're killing it this year. If Dalvin Cook plays, start him. But I wouldn't touch Madison. He's not the guy. So that's my analysis. Packers all day.
I like it. I hear you. I'm with you. Let's talk about a game that I think is remarkably interesting, but I don't really have much advice here. The Buffalo Bills are going to be hosting the New England Patriots. The Cam Newton experiment is seemingly not working out in New England. He gets benched last week for the king of Friday Night Lights, Jarrett Stidham. For anyone who has ever heard me talk about Jarrett Stidham, it comes up like once every year probably. There's this one Bleacher Report video profile on Jarrett Stidham from high school that is so overproduced. He's the king of Friday Night Lights. And then I felt like I never heard about him again until like this year when he was on the New England Patriots. So I don't know who – I believe Cam is still slated to start, but Jarrett Stidham got into the game last week. The Bills beat the Jets but did not score a touchdown, which was crazy. This offense is seemingly starting to come down to earth, right? They started the season very hot. They've had a couple of games in a row now where they're not looking so good. The tight end room was devastated. They had one active tight end last week. And again, no touchdowns against one of the worst defenses in NFL history against the New York Jets. So both teams not playing their best, both teams looking to fire back in a pretty strong way. I think the fact that this game is in Buffalo, even though there's no, real home field advantage right now with the COVID-19 situation, I think that I will give home field advantage to the Buffalo Bills here, and I like them in this one. But from a fantasy perspective, it's kind of buyer beware across the board for both of these teams.
Yeah, this game's going to be boring. Like, there's no other way to put it. I mean, this is going to be a very boring, low-scoring game. I mean, Cam Newton says he's mad. He's going to come back, full steam ahead. But I don't think he has any steam left, The way that he's playing, he's not utilizing his weapons. Julian Edelman, I mean, I don't think he got targeted at all last week. He at least wasn't targeted through three quarters because I had him in fantasy. He got some points in the fourth, but he wasn't targeted through the first three quarters. Neither team really has a great running game. You have a collection of running backs that there's not a bell cow on either team at this point. It's just a bunch of mobile quarterbacks putting up a boring game that I don't want to watch. Yet last year this would be a more fun game to watch because, it's a battle. I think the Bills are going to win and woohoo. But, the Bills are like starting to deflate each and every week. So obviously you want to start Stephon Diggs. He's a PPR machine. Even though they might not score, he's going to get, 5 or 6 catches plus whatever yardage he gets. On the Patriots side of the ball, I don't really think I'm going to start anyone. I'm benching Julian Edelman this week. It's not something that I want to do, but he's not getting the ball. So it's going to be boring. Don't watch it.
And speaking of another boring game, and this is going to be the fastest analysis you've ever heard in your life, but the New York Jets will be on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs, who are somehow only 19.5-point underdogs to the best team in football right now. Are you going to take the Chiefs minus 19.5?
Well, I am betting the Chiefs, but I'm doing money line because I think, the Jets could keep it under 20, but they won't. So this is a fun fact. So I screwed up on my parlay originally. I bet really safe, as everyone knows. So I took the Chiefs money line. I took the Bucks money line, which obviously they're going to beat the Giants. Then for fun, I threw in Alabama and Clemson just to make it a 4-team parlay because obviously all 4 of these teams are going to win. Originally, I put Jets instead of Chiefs, and the payout was $3,100. Then I put the Chiefs, and it was $255. So that just puts it in perspective of, the Jets are not going to win, but, it's a good opportunity to show off the new guys. P. Ryan and Mims, they had good games last week, and then in the second half, for some reason, they just stopped targeting them altogether. If they have a full game, I think they're going to, at least put up some fantasy points. I'm starting P. Ryan in my league just simply because of bye weeks, which I hate starting Jets, but that's how it goes. And on the flip side, you could start everyone. Mahomes is probably going to put up at least 3 touchdowns. Clyde with Hilaire.
Andy Reid at fullback.
Yeah, and he could block for Le'Veon Bell, who he's going to get a revenge touchdown this week.
For sure.
Tyreek Hill, Demarcus Robinson, Kelsey, all of them.
Yeah,
the Jets are only going to lose by like 17. It's going to be something weird.
Yeah, and I think that the Chiefs will probably end up resting some players in the third quarter. I think fantasies wise, there's an opportunity for some Jets receivers to get a lot of points. Like in the second half when they've pulled everybody, there's an opportunity there for Darnold's just slinging it. And somebody gets 15 catches and 80 yards. They don't get into the end zone, but like there's points available here.
Yeah, his name is Jamison Crowder. That's what he does. I mean, he's the garbage man. I mean, he always gets like 8 catches when they're out of the game. So Jamison's a good start if you have him. I only have P. Ryan because I'm not dumb. I don't draft Jets.
But for 5 weeks, you never know. Yeah. Let's talk about this is going to be a fun one. At least it should be on paper, which means it probably won't be. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play the Baltimore Ravens, who, for my money, was the best team in the AFC North. But the way the Steelers have looked lately and kind of the way the Ravens offense has looked over the last couple of weeks, not quite as electric as we expected. I don't know. I like the Steelers in this matchup, and I think that the Steelers defense might pose a problem to Lamar Jackson and slow down these receivers who aren't super talented enough, where they're only going to be able to run the football. And this team is good against the run. Derrick Henry did not have a good game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, they're 3.5-point underdogs, and I think they're going to win this game. Just the way they've been playing, the way they've been looking, I think there's a lot of value, across the board, fantasy wise, on both teams. But matchup wise, I really like the Steelers here.
I'm gonna go Ravens just because I think everyone has to lose eventually, and what better week than this week to do it? I don't know. I think Lamar Jackson, he's been underperforming the last couple of weeks, and I think they are gonna start to right the ship this week. Him and Mark Andrews, I think they're going to have a good game. Who knows if Ingram's going to play? If Ingram doesn't play, you got Gus Edwards, who somehow bust out like 30-yard runs when he's like the 4th-string running back, so maybe it will help the team. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a defensive matchup, but I think they're going to let Lamar Jackson just run wild. On the Steelers side of the ball, they're so up and down. I mean, we say it every week. They are undefeated, but they're an up-and-down team. Last week, Claypool did absolutely nothing. And Deontay Johnson was the one who scored all the touchdowns. I mean, and now Deontay Johnson is hurt, so you don't know who's going to be the guy this week. I think that the Ravens are they're going to win, but I don't know if they're going to win by 3.5.
I think you make a fair point. I think Lamar Jackson is due to bounce back and have some better games here. I think he does have a good game here, but I think the Steelers win this one. Claypool had a lot of good games in a row. He had a dud last week, but I think he's going to get back into the conversation this week. Let's talk about a game that should be a pretty decent blowout, in my opinion, and that's the Tennessee Titans at the Cincinnati Bengals. I know the Titans didn't pull that one out against the Steelers. To me, they're still playing incredible football. They're playing hard. They're incredible knowledge over the game awareness, right, and how to manage the clock appropriately. They haven't been starting games super hot, but they find ways to close them out. And against a team like the Bengals, who just have no defense, I think Derrick Henry is going to run wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be a Titans victory at the end of the day, but I think Joe Burrow is going to have another good game. I mean, he's going to throw probably for over 300 yards just because they're going to be playing from behind the entire game. So at this point, I'm almost confident starting all 3 of the Bengals wide receivers, with Boyd, Higgins, and AJ Green. I think he spreads the wealth around a lot. And then if Giovanni Bernard starts, I would start Giovanni Bernard. I don't think I would start Joe Mixon. This is the type of game where Joe Mixon is going to get like 40 yards and no touchdowns. For the Titans, I love A.J. Brown. I like Jonnu Smith. Ryan Tannehill is a good start. And, of course, King Henry. You got to start him every week. This is going to be another offensive game. So these are games I like. You're a defensive guy. I'm an offensive guy. The 40 to 41 type games are the games I live for. You like the 10 to 6s. So this is a game more for me.
Not a 10 to 6. I like a 21 to 17. I don't like
middle.
I don't like more than 5 touchdowns in a game.
I love that. Give me more Chiefs and Rams from 2018, 19.
Oh my God, that was the worst football game I've ever seen in my life.
It was the best one I've ever seen. Greatest game ever.
We'll agree to disagree. Let's talk about a real snooze fest, though. The Los Angeles Chargers against the Denver Broncos. Chargers only 3-point favorites. I think they're a significantly better team. The first game in the 4:00 block. I don't know. Do you have anything to add there? I just think the Chargers are so much better than the Broncos. This one won't really be close.
I think Herbert and Burrow are going to be neck to neck when it comes to Rookie of the Year. And I love Herbert. I love everything he does. I love the way he spreads the ball around. Chargers are going to win by more than 3. Bet this spread for sure.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at some of these spreads, they're crazy. And I'm definitely going to be putting together a little parlay to win back some money because my betting success hasn't been great last couple of weeks, but I think I'm going to rebound pretty big this week. Feeling good. It's going to be a good November, folks. The New Orleans Saints host the Chicago Bears, who just looked abominable on Monday Night Football. What a terrible game from Nick Foles and the Chicago Bears. This is another one where I don't think we have to talk about it long because I don't see a scenario in which the Bears can have a good game against the Saints. I think the Saints win. They win it big. Alvin Kamara is the weapon to I don't know, to offensive player of the year type of candidate. I mean, he's looking like a beast. I don't know. I'm blanking on his name. The big wide receiver from the Saints. He hasn't played.
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas. It's very generic. It's a very generic name. Is he back this week?
He did not practice on Wednesday, which is when we're recording the show.
So as of now, who knows? They don't need him though. They're gonna just dominate.
Yeah. Jared Cook's good add or start this week. You know, I think he's gonna shred. He becomes the number 2 receiver when anyone goes down. So he's definitely gonna be a start this week for me.
Yeah, and you know, on the Bears side of the ball, Jimmy Graham might do some stuff. I don't know. That's about it.
Yep. Well, Allen Robinson if he plays, but besides that, I don't know. I wouldn't start anyone from Chicago, daily or otherwise. Let's head on over to, I think this should be a fun one because the 49ers are seemingly back, right? They're playing good football. Yeah. They're still very injured, but they're looking good, right? They're playing healthy. They're playing fast. I think Ayuk is injured for this one. Am I correct on that for the Niners? Well, I think he'll play. The one who got really injured was Wilson, the running back for the 49ers. Ayuk is hurt too, but I mean, I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
But who knows?
And listen, the Seahawks are coming off of a heartbreaker. I mean, they go to overtime. That was a fun one. I was okay with that being a high-scoring game. The Seahawks-Cardinals game was a thriller. It went all the way into overtime, and the Cardinals defense just made a play at the end. I mean, it was the Seahawks game to lose. The Cardinals missed that field goal. Russell Wilson's marching, and they made a play. But this offense is just incredible. But the defense keeps holding them back. This is a game where, listen, the Niners defensively, they're very injured, but they do have some talent. This could be another scenario, kind of like that Cardinals game, where are the 49ers capable of making one more play than the Seahawks are defensively? I don't know if the Niners offense is talented enough to keep up, at least on paper, but the last couple of weeks they've been playing well. So what's your kind of take on this?
I think this week the 49ers look more so like they did against the Eagles. I just think that the injuries are piling up. You know, Debo is also hurt, I see. They need Mostert back in the worst way. They have Hasty starting, I think, this week at running back. You have McKinnon being splashed in there. It's a good thing they had 6 running backs going into the season because they'd be in deep water right now. But I think it just makes them too one-dimensional. You know, they're gonna target Kittle like every other play. I think the Seahawks are gonna try to, you know, cancel him out. And on the other side of the ball, the Seahawks offense is just great. Yeah. Metcalf had a really off game last week, which probably was the difference in them losing that game. I think they get him back on track. They're going to get Lockett.
I mean, he ran 40 miles an hour like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, he was great on defense. And if that wasn't a hold at the end of the game, he would have scored the game-winning touchdown. The running back situation's up in the air right now. Carson's going to be out, but Hyde is also hurt. I think if Hyde starts this game, he's going to go over 100 yards. I think that's the type of player he can be this week against the 49ers. If it's not Hyde, it's going to be Travis Homer. They'll be one-dimensional as well if Hyde doesn't play. But I think the Seahawks have enough to beat the 49ers. Their defense is terrible, absolutely terrible, the Seahawks. It's so bad. It's the worst. And you just saw Kyler Murray just shred them. I don't think Jimmy G is going to shred them as much. So the spread is 3. I think that's fair. I think the Seahawks win by 3, but the Seahawks are supposed to win by 3 last week and they didn't. So who knows?
Yeah, I think this one will be close, and it really depends on if the 49ers can continue to play above their skill, because they're too injured to be playing as well as they are, but they're kind of finding a way, and that makes it a wild card. I wouldn't bet this one, but I'm going to sit back, relax, and enjoy it. It's probably the best game in the 4 o'clock block because I think the other two are just going to be beat downs. This next game, I hardly even want to talk about it. I don't think this deserves to be primetime football. I think these next 2 games are the worst games that we've talked about so far today. The Dallas Cowboys, who I can't even name their starting quarterback. I think Andy Dalton's injured, right? I don't think he's going to be playing. Or
we don't know yet. It's Wednesday, so I mean, who knows? They signed Cooper Rush to the practice squad, so he might be elevated and start for them. But if not, it's Ben DiNucci, who is the first ever starting quarterback from James Madison University. Fun fact: who should not be a starting quarterback. But hey, that's show business, baby.
And the Eagles they have a better name at quarterback, I guess, but they're not playing good football either. That being said, they're over a touchdown favored. The Cowboys have been playing particularly bad football. No defense, no offense. I think the Eagles have at least, been able to play a little bit in some of their games. So I think the Eagles win this one. I wouldn't bet it. I'd stay away from a fantasy perspective. I wouldn't use anyone in daily, other than maybe the Eagles' defense.
Yeah, I mean, both teams are really bad. It's terrible that this is prime time. The Eagles are supposed to get back, Jalen Reagor and Dallas Goedert this week, so maybe it's more exciting. But Carson Wentz is probably going to throw at least 2 picks to the Cowboys without fail. But 7.5, I think, is a lot. I don't know if these teams are worthy of that spread. They should have lost to the Giants last week. So I wouldn't touch this game. I'm with you.
Yeah, and this next game is one that, I think you can play with Monday Night Football. But again, it won't be the most interesting matchup in the world. But the Tampa Bay Bucks, 10.5-point favorites against the New York Football Giants. Tom Brady is doing Tom Brady things. They have signed Antonio Brown. I don't know if he's eligible to play this week. I think he probably has to wait a week. But they're clicking on all cylinders. Leonard Fournette is kind of like looking healthy again. He's playing pretty well again. I think he's going to start to get incorporated a little bit more. I'm sneaking him into my lineup this week because of some bye weeks. But yeah, the Giants just look so bad. They look so bad. I don't know how you could, you guys always say, you could start Slayton. Okay, if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think this Bucs offense is going to have a really good day. I think you could start almost any Tampa Bay Buccaneer that you have on your fantasy team in this matchup. Yeah, that's about all I got. I think they could probably cover this spread, but it's a little too big where I'd feel too comfortable betting it. But I think they probably cover it.
Yeah, the only reason I wouldn't bet the spread is because what they did with the Bears. They have some random games where they just stink. But I think Gronk and Evans are going to have huge games this week. You know, the Giants' pass defense is, granted, it's not bad. I know we talk about it every week. It's not bad, but I think Evans and Gronk are just going to be too much for them, which means you can start Tom Brady because he's the one throwing the ball. On the Giants side of the ball, absolutely no one. Maybe Wayne Gallman. You can, if Wayne Gallman plays, by all means, throw him in as a waiver start. Give him the ball.
Sneaking Wayne Gallman. Yeah.
Wayne Gallman got in the end zone last week. You know, he's poised to be a 58-yard rusher this week.
He's the next Saquon Barkley. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. He's better.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Rich, this might be our fastest show to date. I didn't prepare a FanDuel lineup. I don't know if you had the chance to. We could do this live on the show, though. I could pull up FanDuel and we could just go for it.
Let's do it.
Let's go. This is the beauty of us having a web show now. We're just gonna go for it. So I will not be sharing our screens here because I'm gonna do it on the old cell phone. But let's have some fun, shall we? Rich, are you gonna go first, or would you like me to go first?
I would love for you to go first.
All right. So let's open up FanDuel here, and at the quarterback position, I think you absolutely have to start Patrick Mahomes, and he is worth every bit of the $9,200. I don't see a scenario in which he does not have a fantastic game. I also think that you have to start Derrick Henry. Just do it. $9,500 worth it. We'll find value later. At the other running back position, I'm going to scroll a little bit. I'm going to scroll, and this is where it starts to get a little tough. I'm going to go with Jerick McKinnon. You know, we just talked about how dreadful the Seahawks offense or defense is, and I like McKinnon. I think he has some value here at $6,000. At the wide receiver position, I would really, really, really love to go Devontae Adams, but I think that would blow my budget. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans, and I realize I have not done a stack yet, so let me throw Tyreek Hill in here. And I need one more wide receiver. Let's do I'm going to do Boyd from the Bengals. We just talked about him and that he presents some value. At the tight end position, let's see. I'm going to go Gesicki. In the flex here, I'm going to go with – going to have to scroll a little bit, find some value. Jamison Crowder. And, nope, going to have to shuffle some things around. I need to get a couple of bucks back on defense. But that's what I get for doing this live, you know. So, Rich, are you further along in your lineup here?
Yeah, I got mine.
Okay, why don't you read it through?
All right, so at quarterback, I got Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. They're going to shred the Jets. Running back, I got Alvin Kamara. I think that Alvin Kamara, if Michael Thomas is down, obviously he's going to get more carries, more catches. I got LaMichael Pirine from the Jets in here. He is only at 5,300, and he seems to be the starter. It's going to be a game where the Jets are going to be down a lot. He's going to get a ton of dump-offs, ton of carries. I got Tyler Lockett as my wide receiver 1. He did nothing but score last week, and I think he's going to do the same thing against the 49ers. My second running wide receiver, I have Justin Jefferson. The Vikings are going to be down big, so it's kind of the same thing. They're going to have to throw to keep up. My third wide receiver, I got Jarvis Landry, who is now the number 1 wide receiver for the Browns. He's going to get volume just by default because he's got to pick up some of Odell's slack. Tight end, I got Mark Andrews. I mentioned it before. I mean, they're going to have to keep up with the Steelers, and I think that it's going to be run first, but I think he's going to find a security blanket in Mark Andrews and probably Hollywood Brown. But Mark Andrews at tight end is a no-brainer. My flex, I got DeMarcus Robinson, which is my Chiefs stack. He seems like he is the number 2 wide receiver right now. He seemed to have jumped McCole Hardman, and Sammy Watkins is still hurt, so he is a no-brainer at 5,300. And then I got the Tennessee Titans defense against the Cincinnati Bengals. I would love to have the Chiefs defense here, but I would be over. So I'm going to go with the defense that is just as good in the Tennessee Titans. I think they're going to win the game. and I think there's going to be at least 1 or 2 turnovers. So that is my lineup for the week.
Here we go. I don't know if I like this lineup, but we did it live. Patty Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Jerick McKinnon, A.J. Brown. I went to McCole Hardman. I went for a value play at the Chiefs wide receiver position because I think they're all going to get in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
We got Boyd, we got Gesicki, Chase Claypool, and the Bills defense. I think the New England era is over. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers. I think that the Bills defense is going to eat Cam Newton for breakfast. I think I used every single penny of my FanDuel lineup. A little bit of a Chiefs stack there and leaning into some fun matchups. And that's the whole program.
Program.
But no, this should be a fun one. This should be a fun week in the NFL. I think there's a lot of really cool matchups, a lot of flexibility. I know I'll be playing a little bit on the old sports book and paying attention from afar. I have to work this Sunday. Even though it was canceled, we're pretending like it is New York City Marathon Day on November 1st.
There you go.
I'll be in New York filming some runners and having a grand old time, sipping on coffee and holding going to the bathroom.
I heard they work out.
Yeah. It'll be fine. Guys, enjoy this week's slate of games. This has been Daily to Dynasty. I've been Craig Gorbanoff. He has been Rich Wilhelm. You can follow us on Twitter at cgorbs94, at Coda522, or this show at Daily to Dynasty. You can head on over to anchor.fm/Daily to Dynasty and check out our friends over at the Underdog newsletter. For Rich, Marcus, and John, who ran away scared, they couldn't handle us in fantasy and they couldn't handle us on this show. They'll hopefully be back at a later time. Good luck wherever you're playing, and we'll talk to you next time.